students. Thank you all for joining us for a moment of silence to honor clinician victims and their families. Dr. Marshall, please share more resources.
Yeah, so we have a few resources to share with you, specifically into talking with children and exploring what's going on inside of the world right now. We need to be talking about race. We need to be talking about misogyny. We need to be talking about violence that is happening inside of our world and discussing it openly. So these are some resources that you can do further reading and how you talk to children, why it's important, how you can speak to parents about this as well. And I'll be sharing this entire PowerPoint inside the chat so you can actually click on these links. The other is reflection into the history. This is not new. Hate and racism and violence and white supremacy that our nation has been built on is really rooted into the foundation of everything around us. So we encourage you to do some reflection on the history within this nation. There is an Asian American Racial Justice Toolkit, which is online and really looks at what kind of actions you can take within this work of social justice. But we encourage you to read the resources, to reflect, and to learn more. And I'll be sharing this PowerPoint so that you can click on all of these links and just explore a little bit more. But we encourage you to continue doing this work as it's important. Any things I missed, any questions or comments? So we'll move into what the actual petition process looks like. And what I'm going to do is show you where to find the petition and what it looks like. And I'm going to ask each of our coordinators and our faculty within the specializations to share a little bit as we're talking about each of these pieces and just, and make sure that we're touching on everything that our specializations need to know about these petitions. So first I want to show you how to get there, and I'm going to share my screen again, and it's going to be very jarring, but be with me, stay with me for a second. Okay, we're back, and now it's a whole screen and we're together, and we can all see that we're on the counselor education cohorts page. I want you to click on modules, and then from there you're going to stop opening. You're going to scroll down. You're not going to open that 3 times. You're going to scroll down and come down to where it says petition for 480. It gives you a little bit of information on the Qualtrics form, on getting your liability insurance. It has a little bit more information for school counseling, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I want to first click on this petition and we can talk about what it looks like together. It's going to take you to a Qualtrics. And in that, it has a lot of your identifying information. It asks you what your practicum site was. It asks you to talk about any previous field study sites. And then it asks you to talk about your specialization. And so within the school counseling specialization, we have designated sites. And all you have to do is click that, and it will bring you to the master site list. This is how you find out where all the sites are. And once you do that, you have to make the screen smaller because you can't go back. So for each of these, you'll be uploading a proof of your liability insurance. You'll be uploading a resume because we want to be able to share your qualifications with the site. And you'll also be uploading your 475 midterm skills evaluation. At this point, you've probably all gone over them with your site supervisor, your faculty supervisor. So we would like you to upload a PDF of that. You can also upload a screenshot of that, whichever one works best for your organization, but we do need to see that full counseling skills evaluation, and then any comments that you'd like us to know. I now like to go in by specialization, and just to hear a little bit more, if we can go in order. Do you mind if we start with school counseling? I didn't share my screen that whole time, did I? Did I not share my screen at all?
You shared your screen.
You shared it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. Okay, so Dr. Marshall explained the petition process, and this information is for school counseling field study. So if you are not school counseling specialization, you do not need to pay attention for this information, and do not confuse yourself by trying to understand this information, because field study is very different by specialty. So again, I'll talk about the hour requirement for school counseling field study. First, field study hour requirements are based on the CSUS counseling program policy, CTC, and KCREP policy. So as you all know, there is another layer in school counseling, the CTC requirement. So that's why we have more rules for our requirement for school counseling field study. And this information is up in Canvas module, so you can access that there as well. So school counseling students need to complete 600 hours total, 260 direct hours. I think other specializations are 240 direct hours, but for school counseling, 260 direct hours per year, a year. So the basic format we recommend is 300 hours in fall 2021 and 300 hours in spring 2022. So 300 hours is total hour, including 130 direct hours, and 170 is the rest of the hours. At least 400 of 600 hours must be completed in public school setting with PK to 12 pupils. Field study sites may only be selected from the approved list of designated sites that we provided. So once again, if you click the site in Qualtrics link, you can see the sites for fall 2021. I believe we have around 29 or 30 sites for school counseling this semester. Okay, at least 400 hours should be at public school setting, and a minimum of 200 hours should be at elementary school. A minimum of 200 hours should be at middle or high school. It's a minimum, so you need to have a minimum of 200 hours at elementary, a minimum of 200 hours at middle or high, meaning you can do 200 hours at middle or 200 at high school. And it's a minimum, so you can do 300 as well, but you need to have a minimum of 200 hours at elementary, and then a minimum of 200 hours at middle or high. And up to 200 of 600 hours may be completed in settings as below. So it's up to 200. Community organization, including MIP, CalSoup, RISE, Wellness Together. A private school in our site list, for example, Cristo Rey High School, it's a private high school. Counseling service at the post-secondary setting, meaning college advisor center or college career center like that. So if you are working at the college setting and if your job includes advising or counseling, please contact me and I will review your job description and your supervisor qualification, and I may approve based on your job description and supervisor qualification. And because of all this requirement, and it may be confusing, so I highly recommend to discuss your year-long tentative plan with your advisor or coordinator. And sometimes some sites, if they are available to only host 5 interns, but 10 students may petition for that site. So here are some considerations that coordinator consider when placing students. Our policy, and also site supervisor's recommendation or feedback. Sometimes site supervisor contact us and then let us know that they would like to invite these students. So sometimes, we take that into consideration. And you must include 3 choices. You shouldn't, if you just include one choice, I will send it back to you and ask you to include 3 choices, meaning 3 preferences. The reason for that is I work really hard that students can get at least second or third preferences. You know, no, it's kind of impossible that everyone gets their first choices, but if some students get their second choices, like many students can get their second choices. So again, that's why you need to include 3 choices, like 3 preferences, and coordinators try really hard to make sure that students can get at least second or third preferences. And 200 hours employment at community organizations. If you're currently working at MIP or CalSOP or Wellness Together, or based on your participation in Site Fair today or your communication with those organizations, if you are very likely to get hired at those community organizations, please indicate that in your Qualtrics survey as well. And 400 hours at PK to 12 setting. If the students were placed at the site for 2 consecutive semesters, like meaning practicum and field study in fall, priority will be given to other students in the spring semester. So for example, if you are at Will Rogers Middle School for practicum, and if you want to go back to Will Rogers in fall, a priority will be given to other students that they can also experience field study or do their field study at Will Rogers in spring semester. So these are some guidelines that I take consideration into when I place students. If more students are petitioning for the site than they can host. So that was a guideline, and the file is up in Canvas module as well. So you can review them, and I can answer any questions if we have time in this session, or I can answer a question at 5:30 to 6 o'clock school counseling time as well. I know that April has questions. Dr. Marshall, can I answer the question? Okay, April.
Thank you. Dr. Ju, I was just wondering, the Qualtrics form is specifically for fall, or should we indicate our preferences for the entire year?
That's a really great question. For the school counseling, the Qualtrics form is only for fall. You will do the same Qualtrics form for spring, and our coordinator will update the site list for spring.
Thank you.
But I believe that's only for school. Any other question for school counseling field study? Right. Dr. Marshall, who is next?
Well, I'm gonna share my screen one more time. I just want to show the Qualtrics again. So you'll notice school is doing it for the fall semester and then a second one in the spring. I believe all the other specializations will be doing it for the full fall and spring semester. So if you click on marriage, couples, and family, you have the same link to the site list, and that's our master site list. And then you rank your choices 1 through 3 for those top 3 choices. And then of course, insurance, resume, and the same thing for career and rehabilitation counseling. Let's go ahead and open up to MCFC to share a little bit more about your process or anything you want your future interns to know.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Mourinho. How y'all doing? Thank you. Okay, so yes, just like Dr. Marshall said, unlike school, MCFC, we commit to a year-long placement, okay? So once you guys receive that link, go ahead and rate your top 3. Once I receive your petitions, what I'm going to do is send out an email link for you guys to sign up for a 15-minute check-in with me. We'll get together and we'll discuss your placement. Sometimes what happens is you think you want to go somewhere and you list them in your top 1, and then we have a discussion and we figure out maybe taking a look at your goals or where you live or just different factors, maybe there's a better placement out there. It's happened several times. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's worth having a check-in with me as the coordinator, and then you will be able to, once we have that discussion, you are welcome to then contact the site and apply for an interview. Once you have your interview and you're successful and you gain placement, you let me know. Once you have your interview, and if you're not successful, let me know. And then we can have another chat and figure out what the next plan of action is for you to reach out. Maybe we need to get together to talk about how to be successful in an interview, or what are different things that we can do to help you find a better placement. Okay. So again, once you guys you upload your Qualtrics link, I'll send you a link. We'll do a 15-minute check-in. From there, you'll be welcome to do your interviews. And that's pretty much what we do. I'm trying to see. Yep, that's all. Any questions real quick? Ashlyn.
So does that mean that we're not allowed to contact the site yet until after the 15-minute meeting with you?
You are welcome to contact the site if you want to learn more about their site. However, until we have our 15-minute meeting, I don't recommend, or I don't advise you reach out for an interview just yet.
Okay, thank you.
Hand, Bailey.
So just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, so once we meet with you and and you approve that site, does that guarantee that we get an interview with that site, or does that just give us the okay to then go contact the site to apply separately?
Excellent question. So once you meet with me, you're welcome to apply or contact that point of contact to set up an interview, but it is the site's decision who they will interview and who they will take on. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, Kelly.
If we submit the Qualtrics link to you before the due date of April 9th, will we then be able to set up that meeting with you before then? Because I know some of the sites today said, like, get your application in as soon as possible.
Well, April 9th will be the week that we come back from spring break, so it'll be within a year. A year. It'll be very fast. So just hold off until we have that interview. It'll come very soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else real quick? I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Okay. Ton, yes.
What happens in the case for the students who applied for the care center and already received interviews?
Right. Good question. So UC Davis Care Center has an early deadline to apply. So those of you that have already applied, that's already happened. You've also already checked in with me and Dr. Rivas to make sure that that was okay. So we've already given you that approval. I'm not sure when we hear back from them, but we'll still set up an interview, not an interview, but a chat with you and me for 15 minutes and set up a plan B in the case that you're not able to procure that site. Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. Dr. Marshall?
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So sorry, just one question. Bailey, is your hand still up or is your hand up?
Still up. Got it. Thank you.
Good catch. Good catch. For career counseling, a lot of our sites are paid. So many of you are applying and going through the hiring process. So when you tell us in the petition your top 3 choices, you're letting us know which ones you are going to apply to either be hired or to go through the hiring process. If you do go through all 3 of those choices and you have not been hired, please directly contact me, email me as soon as possible so we can work together to find you another placement that's still looking for interns. One note, you got to meet with a few sites, and one of the really big ones that does hire early is UC Davis. So I want to put that information there. They didn't get to be there today, but Eva Lee is the supervisor there, and she's offered any time to schedule a meeting with her. So I put that into the chat. So if you're interested in working at the UC Davis Career Center, reach out to Eva to explore their options. Let's see. Any questions about career counseling and finding field placement? I don't see any hands. All right, let's turn it over to RC.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great evening, and hope you were able to attend some of the presentations today. I wanted to echo what Dr. Moreno was saying for rehab. For rehabilitation counseling specialization, we do have some new relationships with sites in Sacramento area, and they are listed on the master list. There are 2 tracks you can go for field placement, field work. One is a clinical route where you're working more with working with mental health, and one of more of a traditional rehabilitation, DOR, and students with disability services. So, you can meet with me and decide which route you would like to go, but I encourage you to take a look at both for your field placement. And as Dr. Moreno said, once you secure your top 3 sites, set an appointment with me so we can have a chat and get you through the process. Onboarding with the VA does take a while. So if that is someplace that you do want to go in the fall, we need that sooner rather than later. I don't know how many folks went to site fair, and Nicole Kitten was there. It takes some time to get you technology, and the same with the DOR to get the technology for individuals. So take a look at the list and then set an appointment with me via Zoom, and we can have a chat on what your best fit is.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I wanted to just do a brief check-in as well. We just to see how you're doing after the sites, just like a scale of 1 to 5. 1, that was a really terrible experience, and 5 being, hey, at least I got to meet a few people. Where are we? Man, my 5 isn't that great, is it? Maybe like 1 being it was a terrible experience, and a 5 being, yes, it was awesome. That's a better 5. That's a better 5. Got some 4s, got some 5s, got some 3s, got some points. Excellent. I think we had 2 sites that didn't quite make the list. We had La Familia that had a little bit of a link issue, but we were able to put that into the Canvas. And then of course UC Davis. So so you might have another opportunity to connect with them.
Oh, and RJUSD had a tech issue too. So if you're interested in the RJUSD Wellness Center, that one's a really good site as well. That got sent out. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. I would also like to open up just to questions for everyone. You're able to review the PowerPoints, but we also, and I'll pull up our other PowerPoints. We also have a few members from our 3rd year here. And they were nice enough to donate their time to do a little bit of a panel for us, just to answer any questions you might have about what it was like getting into field work, completing field work, moving through field work during a pandemic. They did a lot this year, a lot of work. So we want to first give them a round of applause in ASL or with your reactions, however you want to do it. But thank you so much to Kaya, Laura, Melissa, and Natalie for being here. And so we'd like to open up to any questions that you have about field study, and you can direct those towards us, but also to our graduate panel. Let's see. Any hands coming up? Jessica.
Hello, I wanted to know, this is more directed towards the panel, how they managed or what their typical week looked like in regards to fulfilling hours. I'm particularly in school counseling. So I don't know if Natalie did the 300 or if she split up her hours in a different way, but I'm just curious what that would look like in like an average week.
Yeah, so for fall semester, I did 400, and this semester I'm doing 200. And I actually was at 2 different sites, both semesters I'm at CalSoap, and fall semester I was at Dyer County Elementary School. So with CalSoap, since I'm an employee there, I'm working there 3 days a week. And then I spent 2 days a week at Dyer County. So it was definitely very busy. I was essentially at field study 5 days a week plus classes, but it's doable. And I think it was nice to get 400 hours out of the way this year, since we didn't exactly know how things were going to play out. And if you do have the flexibility and feel like you can front load your hours, I would recommend doing that, just because spring semester you do have to study for the CPCE and do all the graduation related stuff. So that's kind of, I hope that answered your question, but let me know if you want follow up.
So you were at field study for the semester, you did 400 hours, at least 5 days a week.
Yeah, I think I was counting just 4 days a week, but since I work at CalSoap, it was essentially 5 days a week, but yeah, 4 days a week, because each day counts as basically 100 hours.
Thank you.
If we don't have any questions right now, Melissa, can you talk about the CCDS a little bit?
Hi, yes, I can talk about CCDS. So my specialization is rehabilitation, and CCDS, yes, there are a few clients that I've worked with focused towards, rehabilitation and figuring out um, where they can go work-wise with any disabilities that they may be having. However, for the most part, I am doing a lot more clinical work, which I honestly prefer and enjoy. I have worked with many individuals who have had suicidal ideations, and so definitely being mindful of asking, those necessary questions of, do you have the means? Like, do you have a plan? Are you in a safe location? And virtually, one of the challenges, and thankfully it wasn't such a huge challenge, is since we weren't in person, and with the intake, I knew where they lived, and so I would confirm like where they were at. And so if I needed to contact, law enforcement or anyone to go in and check on them, like I knew where to direct them to. And also keep in mind that when you do have a client who has suicidal ideations in session, and it's or a few days before even session, before we've met, notifying your supervisor. That way they can assist you in any way needed. Dr. Anthony Rivas did a great job being available when those situations were occurring. And there were times where, yes, he would, hop in, especially those early cases that I was working with. He would hop on just as extra support. And then after that, it was more of, let me know what you need, kind of stuff, and then briefing him on it afterwards. So that way he's aware of the situation, what I did. Typically in those cases, I would always do the name is slipping my mind right now, but essentially a plan for them where we would talk about, their triggers, what helps them, come out of those moments, whether that was music, being around people. We would identify friends that friends or family that are of support and benefits. And then also like reasons for living and reasons that they didn't, hurt themselves before meeting with me. And so that was definitely quite a bit of what I worked with last semester. And I would highly suggest if you, and I was in the meeting earlier where Dr. Rivas was talking about licensure and mentoring and supervision and supervisees, and he was talking about supervisees getting their own mental health counseling. And so I highly suggest, getting your own counselor or therapist, because those cases can be hard. I mean, all the other cases, definitely emotions are high. However, these cases, you hear a lot of you just hear a lot of dark stuff. And so processing that on your own with your own counselor, that is very helpful and allows you to like unload those emotions, because it's hard.
And it's been a tricky year this year with the pandemic, for sure. I think you've all probably had a bit more of that in general. Melissa, that's a really big help. In that same vein, in a nutshell, Kaya, could you talk about career, and Natalie talk a bit about school, just kind of in a nutshell, since we're recording too. And then food for thought, the next question, any general reactions or recommendations, like what would you like to have known last year this time?
Can go. So hi Hi everyone, my name's Kaya. I'm a third year and I'm in the career counseling specialization. I'm currently interning at the Career Center on campus. I did practicum in CCDS, so I've been able to do both of those. One of the things that I would just say, generally speaking, I wish I would have known how to better manage my time. I understand like we're in a pandemic and, you know, doing virtual sessions is very difficult. Specifically because, you know, all of us are counselors, right? We want to be with the client face to face. So being in a virtual setting is definitely different. However, I just want to make sure I let you all know that it's super important that you do your absolute best to try to manage your time as best as you can. Make sure that you incorporate some time for some self-care. Wish I would have known more to do that. It's really hard when you're trying to work and intern and all these other kinds of things, but I would definitely just make sure that you try to do some self-care for yourself. And if you have questions, do not be afraid to talk to your faculty. They're there to help you. They're there to make sure that you're on the right track. So make sure that you do go in for those office hours, I would say, and make sure you definitely talk to your program advisors and your faculty for sure.
As a follow-up in the chat, any tips on completing hours since that site is a possible place for employment?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I would say in terms of completing hours, so the Career Center's been interesting this year. They're so used to seeing tons and tons of students, and usually getting hours with the Career Center is not really an issue. However, it's been a little bit different now that we are in a virtual setting. Sometimes students will book appointments, not show up. And so one of the ways that we've been able to supplement and still get hours is volunteering at career fairs, making sure that we can do workshops. We actually have been having options to drop into classes, do presentations. I've done first year seminar presentations, which have also counted for hours. So that's another way that I've been able to supplement and get hours throughout the year. So doing one-on-one sessions for sure is a way to get hours, but there's going to be tons of other opportunities, workshops, presentations, career fairs, where that's been an opportunity to get hours as well. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. And then Natalie, in a nutshell, and then I got to follow up with a couple of changes, keeping in mind we've made some changes for next year. Natalie, in a nutshell, school?
Yeah, so what I would say is do your best to really advocate for yourself, because there's so many different responsibilities of a school counselor. And I think my first semester, I was a little bit unsure how to go about getting the tasks that I was interested in learning. And this semester, I'm definitely getting more comfortable asking to attend different meetings. So like, don't be shy to ask to attend an IEP meeting or a counseling meeting. I've gotten a lot of good experience going to some like PBIS tier meetings this semester. And then also, if you can, it's awesome to be able to check out all of the different levels, because you never know if you're going to end up enjoying elementary school or middle school. So I would say if you feel comfortable experiencing all of the different levels of school, to do that, because you may think that elementary is your niche, but maybe you really enjoy working with college and career with high school. So I would just try to kind of make your experience as diverse as possible. There are so many different school sites. And also, it's great to be able to network with all of the different districts in the area and get to know so many different people, so that when you're job searching, people know your face in the different districts in the area. And then, you know, with CalSoap, it's been really awesome to be able to get that outside community perspective and also get paid. You do get paid at CalSoap. And I have learned to become a financial aid expert through CalSoap. And even though it's not the traditional high school setting, it's been nice to now build my skills with presenting and public speaking, and know the college application process inside and out.
So one thing, if I can add, next year we've made some changes. We used to tie hours to units, and what we're doing is a straight up 3-unit 480 class. The hours that you acquire within this model will give you some wiggle room. So 300 is what we're recommending. We'd love an even 300-300 split, but we're doing a minimum 200, maximum 400 to allow for the flexibility. The pandemic, if it's taught us anything, is that a little 100-hour wiggle room does not hurt. So just food for thought as you're hearing from the students right now that are talking. There are some changes that are going to be ongoing, and that's one of them. So now, and keep using the chat for questions, but now to throw it back to Kaya, Natalie, and Melissa, as we're waiting for Laura to come on. What the challenge sometimes with counseling, any program anywhere, is you have all this knowledge going in, but field study really looks different. And even Melissa, you were alluding to this. Field study is really, if you ask students where you learn the most is in field study, because one, you're not directly applying everything. It's like a, you've got to really work on applying all the information you learn, but the experiences are so uniquely different at each specialty site, let alone each organization from one school to the next or one community organization to the next. So in that vein, could you think of anything you would have liked to know, or anything aha you had as you were in internship that may benefit students going in? I see Natalie smiling. Maybe Kaya, Melissa.
Trying to think.
Maybe they don't want us to know. Maybe we should log off. Make it private.
Did you do anything more of something? And keeping in mind, it was the pandemic, so y'all had to get creative. Y'all got really creative. There's some probably creative things you did that would be interesting to use. So, but with that in mind, was there anything you would like to have known?
I'm gonna just say with like my practicum, the feedback that I was getting wasn't the greatest, but in field study that has changed 100%. And so I have definitely seen a lot more changes in the field study course, or where I'm at CCDS, than when I was at Wind Youth for my practicum. And I would definitely like ask those questions of like, this is what I did with this client. Is there something I could have done differently, or something that I could have, dug a little deeper in, for sure, because there's definitely, surface level is comfortable. However, that's not what clients need sometimes, especially for them to move forward with their essentially with their life. They need that that digging deep in order to feel understood, and like they understand themselves also even better, because sometimes like we don't know that we're doing something until someone points it out to us, and kind of that's when the changes start to happen. So
yeah,
I feel like I kind of went off topic, but
no, that's a really good clinical lens too. And now, good transition, Laura, since you're here. MCFC would like a little tidbit of what did it look like for you, and is there anything you would have liked to have known before you, in retrospect, as you've gone into in field study, and or any general advice to MCFC?
Oh man. I think there are some things that it's a process. And so where you are right when you begin is different than where you are third year when you're going into internship. And so to take a little pressure off yourself, I think is a nice idea. And then also, I think what Melissa was saying was really useful, but I also wanted to say that I think all of the theories, the practices, the interventions, they all fall away when it comes down to it in my mind. And that what really matters is the relationship and like the care you have for another human being when you're meeting with them. And I would argue that that goes a long way And so really cultivating that ability to truly sit and listen to others and care for them is critical, and might take a little stress off you if you're not trying to think of what intervention am I doing? What theory am I practicing?
Thank you so much, Lara. So as you guys keep putting questions into the chat, so now to get a little glimpse, I don't know, Kaya, Natalie, thoughts on the other side?
Yeah, I would say even from the career counseling perspective, I mean, I had known like a little bit about the program going in, and then of course, as you maneuver through practicum and start entering into field study, I kind of wish I would have known how much I'd be dealing with students and their anxiety when it comes to just figuring out what it is, what they want to do with their lives. Since I'm an intern at the Career Center, I deal a lot with students who are just trying to figure things out and have a lot of anxiety regarding, their future plans, what it is that they want to do with their future. And when I was the intern, or excuse me, when I did practicum at CCDS, dealing with students and clients who have anxiety was, normal, right? Because I'm working within the clinical setting, but I guess I didn't realize how much it would even cross over in the Career Center side. And so it's nice to know that a lot of us, even though we're in different specializations, it's great to know that we're taking the same classes to be able to assist our clients on many different levels. Because because I work in career, or as I'm doing my field study in career, a lot of what I've learned within my practicum, within group counseling, have crossed over and have allowed me to assist my students to the best of my ability. So it's just nice to know that a lot of the classes that you're going to take are going to allow you to be able to help your clients on various levels. And so I actually like that concept a lot. So
beautiful way to put it.
I think thinking from the school perspective, you school specialization students are going to have a major role in helping a lot of these students get back on their feet after being at home for a year, and they're going to need a lot of extra support. And so just being that person that's there and a consistent figure and helping them make that transition a little bit easier, and helping them get back into in-person school, and they might have anxiety at home, and bringing that into the school setting. I think that you guys are definitely going to be playing or having a really big impact on those students next year. And then one comment I would just make is a lot of the supervisors that you have out there have actually graduated from Sac State themselves and know a lot about the program. And so they're really great resources, and I wouldn't just use them as a supervisor to know what to be doing in that moment, but also ask them about their advice and their input and how they got to where they are now, because a lot of them went through the same program and had a very similar path.
I really appreciate, Natalie, Melissa, both of you kind of alluded to this, in the mental health needs moving forward. So as great a picture as this is going to paint, those of you going into next year, it's uncharted territory, but we know that this last year, mental health is on everyone's mind. It's a lot. It's a topic that we have under addressed as a society. And I think we're going to need to address it moving forward in a different way. So those are some really good points. And Kaya, just how to apply that knowledge, all of it works. You just got to shift it into a different worldview now, right? And that's an excellent point too. Last question in there for y'all. For those who had to juggle work, classes, and field study, how'd you do it? Advice.
I can speak on that. So I work full time and I also currently intern on top of that, go to school. So I will say that it is not easy. It is not. But the one thing that really did help me was making sure that I kept all of my assignments organized. Try your best to, even if you have some downtime, if you can possibly do something a little early, that can also take the stress off of you as well. lean on your classmates. These classmates are going to become your friends. They're going to become your colleagues. They're going to become important people in your life, not just in the program, but also moving forward. So if you ever need to get together with someone and study, maybe you guys can tag team on chapters. I would definitely say making sure that you utilize your resources as best as you can, because it's not easy juggling school and work, and then you're going to start your internship this upcoming fall. So definitely making sure that, you know, you lay out a plan for yourself. And like I mentioned before, talk to your program advisors. That's what they're there for. Talk about that stress, vent about it, because sometimes there might be an opportunity to kind of help you create a plan for yourself. So that's some of the advice that I would give.
I pretty much echo everything Kaya just said. Like, I've been really grateful to be able to have work be part of my field study. So I know that I'm really lucky in that sense, but definitely try to stay organized. It's a very busy and stressful semester, and then the next semester is just as busy, but try to stay organized. Try to take some time for yourself when you can, because it does add up, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you can take care of others. So just keep that in mind.
I was fortunate enough to not have to work this semester. And so that for me personally was hard, because it definitely felt like I wasn't contributing to my household, like monetarily wise. And so for those of you out there, like, it's okay. Your practicum, your field study, it's pretty much like your job. Yeah, you're not seeing, if you don't have a paying field study site, that doesn't take away from you still contributing. Like, it's going to come, you know, in a year, it's going to happen. And still, like, even though I didn't have a job, like, still staying organized. Like, I even actually this semester bought a calendar where it has the hour by hour, because it was a little chaotic last semester with my other calendar. And so that kind of allows you to see too, like, okay, I have time between this client and this client to either do case notes or read a chapter or take that self-care that, like, Kaya and Natalie were talking about, because it is definitely helpful. Like, if going on walks for you is your thing, go for it, do it. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's my that's my advice. I know.
Should I add to that, or like, okay, just checking. So you ladies are doing a great job. I actually have juggled work, classes, and parenting. And I think there have been moments where I just haven't had my sanity. I had to let that go. And my children, I'm sure, appreciated that very much. And what I would say is, don't look too far ahead in the future. Like, literally, there were times when I would look at the syllabus and I would go, oh, yeah, that's a lot of papers. Forget, like, I would have to put it down into just what's in front of me. And I've stuck with that. The hour by hour scheduler has been very helpful. And then when there were vacations, like over Christmas or over the holidays, I like really won't think about school. Like, I don't think about it. I'm not going to read books about counseling. I'm not, no, done. It's done. And that's been really helpful. And then one other thing that I think is a good tip is find something in your life, like one thing that you feel like you have a decent amount of control over. So like for some people, it's like yoga. Like, I do yoga. That is one thing I stick with. Like, no matter, I am doing yoga. Or choose another form of exercise, or, just one thing that you feel totally in control of that is yours, and keep that as like your little thing. I think that's all I've got.
One other question in there. CPCE, any recommendations? How you prepping?
One thing I would say, so currently I'm definitely studying for the CPCE now, hardcore. And the one thing that's really been helping me is studying with a friend. So she comes over to my house early in the morning, we drink our coffee, and we really get into each section because there are 8 sections on the CPCE. One thing I want to make sure you guys know is that you don't have to study alone. So of course, there's going to be times where maybe you do want to study by yourself, but you don't have to do this alone. Like I have my flashcards, like right now, like as we speak, each color represents a section of the CPCE. So definitely making sure that you do find someone that you guys can do group study sessions so that you guys are really absorbing the material, and having that accountability partner is really, really helpful for the CPC exam. So that is something that I would definitely recommend.
Studying helps. Y'all took theory such a long time ago. Studying helps. And study partners are going to be really helpful. And for anyone going into any licensing or certification test, you can expect you will be doing that. This will be a really good prep. Another question in the chat. I've heard that individuals are able to split hours at different sites. So anyone who's had, and Laura, maybe you've had a supplemental site as well. Could you speak to, can you speak to that?
I am splitting hours at different sites, at 2 different intern sites. It actually feels like it's been like the universe gifted me with some way to get my hours done on time, and it's just worked out beautifully. I don't know what everybody's, spiritual beliefs are, but I kind of believe like there is some kismet that goes on and some things that just kind of work out and flow. And that's been my experience. And so, God, that sounds so woo-woo, but I guess I just would like so encourage you to trust that.
I'm right there with you, Laura.
I'm like, the older I get, the more woo-woo I get. It's getting bad. I'm seriously thinking of like dancing around a fire on Saturday. It's the equinox. So, oh, don't tell my clients that. So anyways, my point is that I think if you can like the hours and all that, they really build up and they get scary. But like my practicum, I did not finish my hours on time. It went virtual and I did not get enough hours. And my supervisor was so lovely and let me do it. It still supervised me during the summer. And I slowed, like it was like aching 1 hour a week, but I got it and it did it and I'm fine. And then this semester, it's been the same. I haven't had enough hours. And then Dr. Rivas and Dr. Moreno sent out a job thing about, the CCDS. And now I've been able to pick up some hours that way. And it's just kind of unfolded. I would just so encourage people to let go of that stress and take it when it arrives, like deal with it when it arrives. That would be my suggestion.
To trust the process. I love it.
I have done split sites both semesters, and even first semester this year, I did 2 sites plus TAing for Dr. Scarton, and it's a lot to juggle, but to be completely transparent, it's also really nice to have that many supervisors who get to know you and know your abilities and skills. So then when it comes time to ask for letters of recommendation, you have so many people who might be willing to do that for you. So that's one positive of doing that. It does take a lot more organization to kind of keep track of all of those. And it does take flexible supervisors to be willing to let you, kind of move things around and figure out what day works best for each site. But I think there are definitely some pros to splitting your hours between sites as well.
One thing I should clarify with the summer, we had to get creative with the pandemic, and luckily KCRAP, BBS, lots of things gave us some flexibility with that. But if you are short on hours or needing to start at your site early, or somehow in a position where you're not under university supervision, reach out to the coordinators. We need to know if you're out there doing work when you're not officially in the 480 class under university supervision, so that we can be a contact point available to you. So we need to have that information, and you have to at minimum have site supervision. So doing work without supervision is not an option. And so Laura's example, she was under she was under individual supervision, and we knew that she was in that process in the summer.
Yeah, big takeaway, be transparent with your coordinators and your site supervisors. We really want to support you. We're here for you, but we got to know what you're doing.
Dr. Marshall, last 5 minutes, and panelists, any final thoughts, reactions, general venting, hippy dippy stuff? I love it. Anything.
Just some frequently asked questions. Dr. Drew put this in there, and I just want to repeat it just in case anyone hasn't seen it in the chat. For the Qualtrics forum, the practicum section, if you're in practicum now, which all of you are, please put in the hours that you have collected so far. So the expectations, you have 40 direct and 100 in all, but put in what you have so far. So you've been keeping up with your hours, hint, hint, wink, wink. Okay. And the other is, as you're updating your resume into the Qualtrics, be sure you're putting it in a PDF. That's just good practice. Always use a PDF. Otherwise, we're opening up 4 different things to look at your resume, and employers don't like it.
Yes, please, PDF. Anyone can open a PDF for the most part. Dr. Marshall, when's the form due again?
April 9th. Sorry, it took me a while to get to my microphone. Yes, and I can put the advising, that's inside of our advising hand PDF PowerPoints for the night. I gotta stop talking just for a second.
So panelists, and Kaya, Natalie, Melissa, Lara, thank you so much for doing this. This is lovely that you gave us your time to do this. I think, and if you all listening could give a reaction, I think it was really helpful. And if you have any final thoughts, we'll wrap up with that. Otherwise, thank you so very much.
I have one final thought. And I don't, please feel free to ignore it. I hope people are leaving rapidly, but what I wanted to say is that I feel like those hours that we need to get for our own personal individual counseling are incredible. And I feel like all of my own counseling that I did has been a treasure trove in this process. And I feel like the more work you can do during this process about your own life and looking at stuff that happened, it's like you're mining for gold. Like everything that happened in my life, that time I was bullied in high school, golden, makes me that much closer to a client. You know, everything you do when you look at your own life is like giving you nuggets of goodness to share with your people. So I would really encourage a lot of self-reflection.
Natalie or Laura, I really appreciate you saying that, actually, because we do request that you all do your personal counseling hours, and sometimes it gets front loaded, but practicum and internship is when our stuff from different angles comes up, because we hear it in our clients and it just comes up then. So I do appreciate you saying that. This should be ongoing part of our reflective practitioner practice.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. We have one more thing tonight and then we're done, and that's breakout sessions by specialty. That way you get to ask some more personalized questions and build a sense of community with the other cohorts inside your specialization. So
before we go, Dr. Marshall, can I thank you for throwing an amazing jamboree or whatever the hell happened today? Was brilliant, and you are amazing, and you've been up since 5 a.m. and to have ran this whole thing, I hope to speak on behalf of everyone. It was helpful. It was great having the community there. It was great doing all of this virtually, connecting with EBACA. I just really want to acknowledge on record with the video on before everyone leaves how much work you put into it, and all the faculty that contributed in different ways, and the student panel. Go team. So thank you.
Oh, yay, go team. We did it together. We did good, y'all. All right, I'll see some of y'all in the next space, and I will see some of the rest of y'all after spring break. Bye.
Thank you.